I just saved a bee. Um, I was sitting. Sorry, I just got done running down the stairs. Uh, I was sitting here getting ready to go live, and the bee. It was weird because it was a black bee looking black bee. Black. It was strange. I never saw anything like that. Anyway, it landed on the light bulb, and it doesn't have a thing on it, so it was frying. And I jumped up and I swung the chain and knocked it loose, but then I didn't want it in here with me either while I was doing my video, so I ran it outside and let him go, and he was very happy to be there. Oh man. Um, Golly, you guys, listen, thank you for being here. I've been working pretty hard, nothing new for me, but only to get the information in order for you. Again, I know not everybody has time to watch all the videos, though you should. You'd be missing out if you don't. I went ahead because even I'm figuring this out too, this investigation. So I went ahead and I put it all into from the 7th, from April 7th to April 21st, and then a couple days beyond. I have some stuff to share as well. So before I do that, some people are returning, some are here for the first time, but obviously we're going to talk in depth about the death of Prince Rogers Nelson, the investigation into whose ever death it was. It was Prince Roger Nelson or Roger Nelson or Roger Prince Nelson. We have a lot of different names to go on. Anyway, but before we do that, you all probably pretty much know the story, but for those of you that don't, I'm going to read the real quick snippet of NBC News because the whole story, like I said, the media spin is, once you hear what I have to say all together and what the media did to it, like your mouth will be hanging open. And anyway, just a taste in case you're not as familiar with the case as I am. Music legend Prince died after taking what he thought was Vicodin, but actually a counterfeit painkiller that was laced with fentanyl. A Minnesota prosecutor, that's what Mark Metz said. This is NBC News back from 2018. I'm just checking out this article real quick. In all likelihood, Prince had no idea he was taking a counterfeit pill that could kill him. Remember, they sold that he was taking pills laced with fentanyl that could kill him, but nobody else in the Minnesota area died from taking their Vicodin. Interesting tidbit, right? Just him. Anyway, others around Prince also likely did not know that the pills were counterfeit containing fentanyl. Okay? Likely did not know, they said. Sorry, makes me giggle. Despite an investigation, an intensive investigation, there's no reliable evidence showing how Prince obtained the counterfeit Vicodin laced with fentanyl or who was involved in procuring those pills. That's what Mark Metz had to say. So I just thought I would share that because that was NBC News. Now, you guys that follow the story, you know that, one second. Or even if you didn't, we were all sold that on April 7th that Prince had the flu and that the concerts were canceled. Okay, he was doing the piano and a microphone tour, and all of a sudden there was concerts canceled. Okay, now what they don't tell you on the media is on the 7th, and I'm just going to go day by day. Some of this you might have heard before, some of it you might not have. Dr. Schulenberg, who was slapped with the $30,000 fine for providing the 15 Percocet, that's what they did publicly. This is what he had to say on the 7th, you guys. Schulenberg states that after being contacted by Kirk Johnson at 5:45, he headed to Paisley Park at 6:45. He stated he met up with Prince and did a physical at his house or studio. And then they arranged to meet up at his office at 15450 Highway 7. Kirk brought Prince over and Marone met him there. They entered through the back for privacy and into the urgent care portion. He gave a liter of saline, and this is quote from Dr. Schulenberg, a very strange quote. He gave a liter of saline and he left in the presence of Marone. Okay, so that's on the 7th. The media doesn't tell you anything about anybody taking him to the doctor, and they can still say, yeah, so what, he had the flu. I'm going to try not to editorialize too much, but it's hard to do. 1 second. because one report says that this is what Dr. Schulenberg said, that Prince, and I'm going to go slow for my own sake, Kirk brought Prince over and Marone met them there. Now, here on digital statement 160125559 on line 4, line 18, 1 second, it's here. I had it written down. Came to fruition on the 7th. 1 second, came at 6:45. Okay, and just for privacy purposes, we entered through the back of the building and came into the urgency center part, which was not open for patient care. Now, you guys remember that the 7th was a Wednesday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday or Thursday. Anyway, and he said he got there at 6:45 in the morning and that Kirk brought him over, and then they went in through the back entrance, not just for privacy, because it was probably still pretty early, but the urgency center part, which was not open for patient care. Now, what that means is when I did my research, that portion, it was like one side of the building was an urgent care and the other side was like a doctor's office. The urgent care portion was not open for patient care at all. It just wasn't open to the public. Yeah, that's where he was doing the IV infusions and had access to Valium. But again, I'm going to stay on track day by day. It's hard. So we don't get much in the file about the 7th, you guys, other than the fact that Schulenberg said that Kirk brought Prince over, but on the other file, he says that he transported Prince. And I shared that with you guys before. So we know that there are two different stories. Transporting a person and having somebody bring them over, that's pretty big discrepancy. So that's really all there is about the 7th, too much for now, except for the notes that Dr. Schulenberg takes and that that Prince had tingly hands. And then he said that he talked to, this is what he had to say, you guys. This is Schulenberg. So on the 8th, Marone texted me at lunch and said, could Prince talk to you? And then about 10 minutes later, Prince called me and I spoke to him on the phone. Him. For about 15 minutes, just reviewed some of the symptoms, blah, blah, blah. That was the 7th. Now, listen, this is what's interesting. Schulenberg says he had seen a chiropractor that night. He was having some new symptoms, and we just kind of talked about that. I offered to see him again and do some blood work, blah, blah, blah. They mumbled their way through those, so sorry, I'm reading it as is. What's interesting about that is they say that there was a chiropractor there. And nowhere in the file is there a chiropractor mentioned except for Richard Peliquin, I believe, who says that Dr. Isaacson did the surgery at Mayo Clinic, says that he knew Dr. Isaacson to be the chiropractor, although there's no proof of it in the file. And also it's interesting because in the book, in the Beautiful Ones book, Dan mentions something about a one-time power of attorney that Phaedra had signed specifically to write the book. And I'm pretty sure the timing works out pretty closely there, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So the chiropractor thing is up for grabs. Anyway, that was on the 7th and 8th, you guys. So that lets you know that there's inner workings. And trust me, I'm just getting started. Like you guys know that the piano and microphone on the 14th, 15th there was canceled, but then they offered refunds on the tickets, but then they put them back up for sale or something like that, or offered to do the 2 shows on the 14th. So Superstar is really sick. He has to go and get infusions, and they try to sell it that it's nothing new because he gets B12 infusions sometimes and blah, blah, blah. That's the story. But then on the 14th, I wrote, these are my notes. This is the day that initially the media told us that though Prince was feeling flu symptoms, he still chose to fly to Atlanta to perform 2 shows. The day starts off, interesting enough, Kirk Johnson's phone records are provided, and though they are from a generic phone company with an LLC, Quest Diagnostics, instead of the AT&T phone that the file states he has, we have to work with what were provided. He received 12 incoming texts, you guys, on the 14th. Okay, listen, I know I said it before, but it goes together now. Kirk gets 12 incoming texts, you guys, on the 14th, the day of the concert. He doesn't return any of them. It's like from midnight to 5, 6, I wrote it down. His first returned outgoing text is to Jeff Villar. Let's roll film and video. Okay. He spends approximately half an hour thereafter speaking to Monique Linder at Oh My God Media Solutions. So first you're talking to a filming company, then you're talking to a media solutions company. And then by 9:05, he's calling Marilyn at Bremer Bank. He is in constant communication, texting and calling with both his daughter, Kayla, and his sister, ex-wife, whatever it is, Lori, I don't know their name. I put his daughter and sister until 11:57. 11:57 time is interesting on the 14th because it coincides with the time that the records that were provided as the Go Phone, as Renville Wellington's Go Phone records that were opened on 6/9/15, a week, 6 days before the Obama concert. Those records match the records that are provided on Kirk Johnson's phone that match Kim Pratt's text. So either they forgot where they copy and pasted their texts, their phone calls, because this is a cut and pasted file. But anyway, 11:57, interesting point in time in the day. That's when that happened. So he's texting his sister and daughter. 12:30, he's texting with Phaedra and the mysterious Gigi name, Gil Slaughter, who they try to say is his girlfriend on the media. But it's just a capital GG like Bob George. Just saying. So by 12:41, Kirk is contacting Dr. Boo. This is where it gets really interesting, you guys, because we have a statement from Dr. Boo that I attached. I always get my stuff out of order when I sit down to read to you guys. So just one moment, because I'm trying to make a book and do these videos at the same time. Dr. Boo's testimony is here. All right, one second. The media would have us believe that, well, actually, People Magazine and everything like that, they don't tell you anything about Dr. Boo. She's not a doctor. She's a dentist. Her name is Dr. Elizabeth Boo. And she comes into the file also having provided 10 Tylenol 3 with codeine for Kirk on the same day, the 14th. And they tell us in the file that he called her to take care of a crown prep, a cracked tooth, because he was going out of town that day and had pain. So when we're going through his phone records, we would expect to see a phone call from Kirk to, Dr. Boo. But what we see is that by 12:41, he's contacting her. He texted twice. He didn't call about a crown prep. He texted twice. And get this, by 1:03, Dr. Schulenberg is calling Kirk, texting Kirk before Kirk texted him for the day. So that means Schulenberg, he was definitely involved. And most likely, what I surmised is that Elizabeth Boo probably contacted Dr. Schulenberg because they're all in cahoots. I like that word. And truly important, you guys, if you weren't listening, that Dr. Schulenberg, because there's testimony here where it's proven that they're lying. By 1:03, Dr. Schulenberg is calling and texting before Kirk contacted him. And though Schulenberg states that he spoke to Kirk on the 14th, he never saw him for an appointment, according to the documents. He said that Kirk called about getting back. In one of the files, Schulenberg says that Kirk called about getting back pain and that he went over low lumbar axial alarm symptoms or something without alarm symptoms. And in the other file, he says that he had hip pain. Okay. So, however, we know that Kirk didn't call Dr. Schulenberg. So I wonder who told him to put his notes in the file. He even said he'd known the patient for 15 years and it was a one-time request. But Kirk had to come and pick up the prescription in person. Okay. Which is interesting with the timing that everybody's supposed to be on the plane, but we'll get there. So anyway, the phone records prove that Kirk didn't contact him first. Moreover, Schulenberg states that he told Kirk he had to pick it up in person. I got to follow my notes, guys. Now, at 1 p.m. on the 14th, this also is interesting. I think I have a little problem solved here, too. This is new information alert for those listeners. In the file, there are web to text texts where it says web to text. Now, if you've ever been without a cell phone, but you had a laptop or a computer, you know that you can open up the CenturyTel, I think it's called, or Quest link. It's like you go to this website and it would set up a texting account for you. For those of us who've been without a cell, you know how that works. So it's interesting because throughout all the file, they say that Prince didn't have a cell phone and that he communicated through email and text. Now, when they say text, they could be talking about the SentryTel. Just an observation. There's lots of hypotheses here. Anyway, the 1 p.m., those begin and they stop at 2 p.m. That's what I put in my own notes, that those are probably the numbers, because what we know, well, I don't want to get involved in that. I'll tell you in a minute about the SentryTel and Ann Tollefson. Each time there's a burst of those SentryTel QuestLink phone, like texts, they're followed by a burst of text from Kayla Johnson. So there'll be, I'm not going to do show and tell with the records. There'll be a couple, there was 2 texts from the SentryTel, and then there's a couple of texts from Kayla, and then there'll be some more texts of other people, and then there'll be the web to text, and then it would be Kayla again. So I found that pretty interesting. And then even more so that Kayla leaves a voicemail for Kirk at 2:17 p.m. on the 14th, which would be consistent with boarding the plane, because the pilots, Betchold and Gallant, I always think of Goofus and Gallant from the Highlight magazine, with boarding in the plane, because that was said to depart at 2:32. So what I'm hypothesizing is that with the dual lookalikes and the people that were being used for whatever reason, that Kayla was one of them, which I've also showed you guys on Kirk Johnson, Kirk Drummer Instagram thing. He has Kayla on there, and on her number, on her waist number, it's 314 or 413 pi. So it's kind of obvious on that aspect. But anyway, she leaves the voicemail at 2:17. Now at 2:27 to 2:34, Renville Wellington is constantly texting, which is also consistent with the time of getting on the plane. Now, we don't know if that's actually Kim Pratt or Renville because of the phone records. And I think that the reason they twisted those ones so hard is because Renville wasn't supposed to be in town at that time. He is a Canadian bodyguard, and he was brought in at the Moline Airport with the U.S. Customs port. But anyway, so at 2:27 to 2:34, he was texting, and that was followed by 7 incoming unanswered texts by the person they unknown or black out their name. 3:09, Kelly White calls, singer from Atlanta. 4:25, you guys. 3:09, Kelly White calls, and then Kirk is texting Janelle Monáe for over an hour. Back and forth. If you don't know who Janelle Monáe is, very short, artist, cute, she wore the black and white, was known to be one of Prince's proteges. However, the thing that I found coinkydinky is that she's very short and 5'2" and could very easily dress up like somebody. Just saying. They all have dirt that they have to do. It's part of the contract. Now, at 4:25, after he's done texting her for an hour, there is an outgoing call from Kirk's phone to Canada. Followed by a call to or from, I can't remember, Thomas Huseman from Chaska, and I think that's a banker. I'm not sure. This is interesting, you guys. I would try to do show and tell, but I have my stuff put away. At 4:30, there is a big blacked out area on the phone records, and there's a blacked out area at the bottom. But in there, most people's names are typed in there, but in there, where that's blacked out, it's written in there. You can see it because I held it up to the light and used a magnifying glass yesterday. And it's written in there, handwritten, Michael, Macael, because it's misspelled, Schoble. That's what's handwritten in the bottom of the black bar where the name is blacked out. And that's at 4:30. So go look at Kirk's phone records and check it out for yourself. I know that they're available online. And if you don't have them, let me know. I'll send them to you. Now, by 4:40, you guys, big deal here. Kirk is texting Stephen Kajel from Aviation Lifeline. And I told you guys this the other day, but you guys, the Dassault Falcon 990 that had the emergency landing that went down 45,000 feet in 17 minutes is a far cry from the Aviation Lifeline life support plane that Stephen Kajel was notified at for whatever time to start flying. So rest assured, there was more than one plane landing. And there was more than one investigation here, you guys, and I'm trying to share that all with you. Then try to go back and read your People magazine. It isn't going to work. Anyway, from 441 to 447, it's blacked out again. But again, with the magnifying glass, it truly, I wouldn't say these things if I didn't mean them. There's a big blacked out area, and it's handwritten in there again. Go look at them, Kirk's phone records. In the middle at 441, 447, it says, I believe it says fentanyl boo. That's just what it looks like to me. Just hypothesizing like the scientists do. So anyway, then thereafter, all the texts are to Renville Wellington until 6 p.m. or Kim Pratt, whoever that was, because, well, I don't want to get off my timeline, but I'll tell you some other things in a minute. Then there's 5 minutes of exchanges with Let's Roll Film and Video again. I mean, why would Kirk have to? I mean, I'm going to step off this timeline for 1 second. When I listen to Prince Rogers Nelson talk in the years that seem so far away now, where the truth exists, he would say that one of the reasons that none of the concerts and things were online on YouTube is because they were always professionally filmed. I mean, you're talking about the perfectionist, and you don't want just anything out there willy-nilly. So you can think that they were having these concerts filmed by Let's Roll Film and Video, but then you go and you do your research and you find out that Phaedra is paying KAJ Productions, which is Kirk Anthony Johnson Productions, $6,800 for 1 day's work. I wonder what they were filming and why they're paying themselves and flying the Dassault Falcon 990. I'm going to go back to the timeline. Anyway, the phone goes quiet between 6:30 and 7:20 on the 14th. Okay. At 7:20, there is an incoming text from Theron McConeyhead. I don't know if I'm saying it right. What's really interesting too is when you look at the phone records, after Theron, his name, there's a slash, and then it says criminal history. Nobody else's name says criminal history. I mean, I'm just saying it's, I notice things. So he is the one, obviously that told us that he planned the after party for Atlanta, but he didn't attend, and nor did Prince. So I read that to you on one of the other things. But by 7:30, you guys, this is what they don't tell us. Dr. Boo, Dentist Boo, she's calling again, leaving a minute-long voicemail. 7:30 at night, you guys, when all she did was provide Tylenol 3 with codeine for Kirk's tooth. Okay, why is she calling back at 7:30? This is interesting because in her testimony, when Kirk told her about Prince, she said to the officer that Kirk told her about the plane landing, and she said that's weird because Prince wouldn't just start frothing at the mouth from 10 Tylenol 3 with codeine if he already had a bunch of fentanyl or whatever. So 7:39, there are 3 blacked out texts, followed by a short break until 8:18, and then there's a string of texts to Renville Wellington, and that goes on till about 10:23, and then there's an outgoing voicemail to Jeremy Peters, sound engineer. If Prince was reportedly at the hospital, the one Prince that the world knew was at the hospital having the flu, and the story says that Kirk texted Kim Pratt, and she asked him if she should wait for the second plane, which I talked about on the other video. Try not to be redundant. I'm just going to keep going. I got to stick to my timeline because I'll get too wandery because there's so many things to talk about. Here's some, you guys. Initially, Dr. Boo asked if they wanted to talk to her about the elevator incident with Prince and asked if she needed an attorney. When Officer Lombardi told her that he could not give her legal advice, she decided to just tell the investigators the story. According to Dr. Boo, she said that Kirk Johnson called her the morning of Thursday the 14th and asked about a crown prep. He had just scheduled for later that afternoon. She didn't start work until 2 p.m. The file says this was the same date Kirk Johnson was flying out with Prince to the Atlanta concert, departing Minneapolis Airport at 2:32. Dr. Boo said Kirk told her that his tooth was bothering him and he was going to Atlanta for a show and wasn't going to be able to make the appointment. According to her, she gave Kirk a prescription, 10 Tylenol 3s, clindamycin, standard procedure, blah, blah, blah. Officer Lombardi asked Dr. Boo how many times she called Kirk Johnson on 4/14. Dr. Boo believes she called once. Well, she did call. She called at 7:30, and the other ones were just texts. When asked if Prince was a patient of hers, she said no. Lombardi asked Boo why she called Kirk Johnson around midnight, the night of the emergency plane landing. I didn't get there yet. After she gave Kirk a prescription for Tylenol codeine, Dr. Boo said she had a feeling this would come, stating that she had read in the paper that Prince's plane had landed in Moline, and she sent a text to Kirk Johnson hoping it wasn't his toothache that made the plane land. So, yeah. Lombardi, Dr. Boo told him that she was a practicing clinician and that she only knew what she had read. Dr. Boo said, you don't, quote, you just don't go to fentanyl overnight. Dr. Boo said Kirk Johnson had called her Monday after the emergency plane landing. That would be Monday the 18th, believing it to be Monday 4/18, and told her about the plane story and that Kirk located some pills in a black bag, blah, blah, blah. So the point is, with the time, and we're going to keep going, here's some more from Dr. Boo. 1 second. Lombardi, Boo, Dr. Boo said that she had spoken with Kirk again on Tuesday, 4/19/16, and that he said that he had gotten an appointment for Prince with his doctor. And that Prince had agreed to see the doctor and take a blood test. So one would infer that they were talking about the appointment on the 20th with Dr. Schulenberg. Dr. Boo said that she knew she hadn't done it, meaning by prescribing the 10 Tylenol 3, and that she was not the cause of Prince's overdose. Dr. Boo said she has never overprescribed because she has her own family issues. The only other person she spoke to about was Scotty Polkulski. Sorry. One of Prince's sound guys who she had met through Kirk Johnson. And speaking with Pakulski, he said that he had worked with Prince a month earlier in Australia and had quit after Prince displayed behavior so erratic that he quit after 10 days. Now, that was at the Piano and a Microphone tour where I told you in Australia, Dan Piepenbring tells us he said he was new to performing by himself and fentanyl comas and things like that. So according to Boo, Kirk told her he had an upcoming appointment with Kirk's doctor on the same day of the Atlanta concert. Kirk's doctor gave a prescription for Prince for 15 Percocet. And Dr. Boo said a person doesn't get 10 Percocet and then start frothing at the mouth. Dr. Boo told Lombardi that she didn't understand why Prince and Kirk Johnson would be at Walgreens picking up a prescription if Prince already had a bunch of fentanyl or whatever it was. Her words, not mine. That means that Kirk had already told her that they had a bunch of fentanyl. Just saying, or Scotty Polewski told her. Somebody told her. Perhaps it was Tyka's son, President. Deserving name, don't you think? Oh, sorry. Anyway, Officer Baller asked Dr. Boo if Kirk ever came in after the Atlanta concert to fix the cracked tooth. She said no, she did not, and Kirk didn't want to fix it. Baller asked if the pain of a cracked tooth would not go, if it would go away if it wasn't fixed, and she said it could come and go. And then the officer says it should be noted the prescriptions given to Kirk Johnson on 4/14 by Dr. Boo were never used and discarded in the garbage can at Paisley Park after Prince's death. That was the one of the prescriptions that I talked about in the video, you guys. There were prescriptions written on, I have this stupid hair, hold on 4/14 and also on 4/19. But on 4/19, those prescriptions were filled at CVS pharmacy. I don't want to go off track. So we're on the 14th. That's what we had happen. Without getting too much into Moline, you guys, because that's a whole different thing in itself. And I have the Moline videos to, I have to get this hair out of my face. Sorry. But my point is, by now, you guys know from listening that there are different investigations. There are setups. These are plans as part of the breakdown. And these are just the things that they were willing to do or the evidence that they had to work with to try to make a file. And so that's what they're doing. So 7th and the 14th, then they went and they did the concerts. You know, there was the two of them. Like I said they planned the after party. 1 second. The other thing I want to show you guys right here on my phone, I have this thing filled up. And like, I don't want to get into Moline because I'm going to do a whole separate thing on that because it's a big deal. What is part of the reason I made the title, this paperwork right here is from the hospital on March 21st, 2018. It's blanked out. Blank, corporate integrity and general counsel for Unity Health. Mr. Blank advised me he would accept the administrative subpoena from the Drug Enforcement Administration, Minneapolis, blah, 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 pertaining to the release of Prince Roger Nelson's medical records. That means that the DEA, sorry, there's a crack in my phone. Here, right here, just like with the birth certificate, Prince Roger Nelson. The DEA for the Moline Hospital paperwork says Prince Roger Nelson, just like the birth certificate in the book. So, blah, 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 blah. Medical records from the Trinity Rock campus of Unity Health and records of service from Moline Fire Department regarding the treatment of Mr. Prince. They never say the real name, you guys. I mean, like I said, they sealed the warrant because on that they said that they put the wrong birth date. So then go back and scribble it and then seal it. Come on. Just one second. Now, what's interesting is on May 18th, 2016, the TFO, Federal Search Warrant, blah, 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 for the Minnesota Prescription Monitoring Program has the name Prince Rogers Nelson on it. These are big deals. It's when you're dealing with, come on, you don't misspell people's names and birth dates unless you're misidentifying someone purposely, wouldn't you think? So it goes on and on. This is the one from the, was signed by Honorable Erickson, 405, But it's interesting because on the Minnesota Prescription Monitoring Program, where I shared with you guys the other day that Prince Rogers Nelson had 0 prescriptions in his name, yet they show us 3 bottles on the media with prescriptions in them. But those prescriptions, as I disclosed to you, were clindamycin and all the various pills they had collected from around the house in Kirk's name and then put in those bottles that were specially made to be put in Peter Bravestrong's suitcase. Okay. Now, he did the concerts. That's so annoying. Sorry, you guys. Also, I shared with you guys on the, I think it's the one where I did the investigation on the paperwork for Moline. It's not just that. There's paperwork where it says the incident in Moline started at 1:56 and finished at 9:34, or vice versa, 9:34 and then finished at 1:56. There's, I showed you guys on the video, they cut and paste the paperwork where on one piece of paperwork, you'll have someone's signature in the box at the bottom. But then on the next piece of paperwork, that same box is at the top of the next piece of paperwork. I shared with you guys that they were e-signatures, which could be done online. Okay. There's a lot of stuff that goes into the Moline thing. So it's a huge thing all on its own. But what I want to say is, we don't know who disappeared when or who died when. Somebody named Prince Roger Nelson could have very well died in Moline because they had paperwork where they had a, what's it called when you make your final, whatever, I can't remember what it's called right now at the hospital when you make the decisions when somebody's dying. There was paperwork in there for that too. So anyway, 14th, you guys, and now we're to the 15th because I told you it was going to be a whole rundown. On the 15th, the only thing that we hear, and it's not included in the investigation, is at 8:33 a.m. there was a Prince tweet that said, or Twitter, Instagram, whatever, it said, "I am transformed." Now on the 15th, like I told you guys on that video, the Prince person who didn't get out of the hospital till 9:34 on the 15th couldn't have been home at Paisley Park tweeting controversy and in the hospital, and then at 8:33 tweeting, "I am transformed." And yes, I heard "three." So it's because somebody showed me a picture of Tweety Bird earlier. Anyway, that was a Rolling Stone reported that Prince tweeted to a fan that he was on a purple cloud of intoxication, resting at home 8:30 a.m. on the 15th. That's where I got that, in case you're wondering. A girl does her research. April 16th was the party that everybody knows that Prince publicized. Now, supposedly, this is what the media tells you, that after he got home from Moline, that he rode his bike all around town in that sweatsuit and with the looming afro, and And then he threw the Paisley Park After Dark party to prove to everybody it was okay. Now, the thing is, you guys, everybody wants to say, oh, Prince knew. He just knew something was going to happen to him. And that's why he said, save your prayers a couple days. Think about it like this. Think about a clone, a menacing clone saying, save your prayers for a couple days. I think it was more of a warning. That's just my hypothesis. Anyway, what's also interesting, you guys, is that when the breakdown clone begins, there isn't as much guitar playing, which I believe is why the guitar wasn't played that evening, because maybe somebody doesn't know how to play the guitar. Wishes they did. I don't know. Anyway, on April 17th, Prince tweeted to a fan attending the concert the night before, what did you do to us that night? Still flying high. At 12:37 a.m., there was the Chanhassen party tweet. And the final tweet was at 3:34, was a promo for the Piano and Microphone concert tour and Electric Fetus. So somebody who didn't have a cell phone and didn't use cell phones, as the media says, was so damn private, was tweeting and Instagramming and, you know. Anyway, so that takes us up through that time, you guys. But on the 16th, let's see what I have. That's everything that I just said. And then, okay, here we come to the 18th, you guys. It's important to know with the rundown that I just gave you about the 14, 15, 16, 17, that stuff like that Kirk Johnson stated he was unaware if he saw Prince on the 17th or 18th when he was interviewed. I think I have that right here. Just a second. ICR 16000125559, line 20. Kirk continued to state that the evening of the emergency plane landing, he believed Kirk stayed at the hospital until around 9 a.m. the following morning, April 15th, because they were waiting for another jet, to pick them up. Gotta fly fancy. Kirk said he did not see Prince every day. It was only when Prince needed something. But he ran the whole Paisley Park. Kirk said when they landed in Minnesota, Prince and Judith Hill drove off, blah, 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 blah. Saturday, April 16th, hosted a dance party, approximately 250, 300 people, because Prince wanted everyone to know he was okay. Kirk told me he did not see Prince on Sunday, April 17th. Kirk did not think he saw Prince again until Tuesday evening, April 19th, around 8:30, when they had a meeting with Prince, Larry Graham, Marone Bacure, and Kirk. Kirk said Prince had canceled shows on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of that week, April 18th to 22nd, because of what happened in Atlanta, and they were urging Prince to take a break. Kirk said Prince was the one who wanted the help, and they urged Prince to get a physical exam by a doctor. That's why Kirk made the appointment with Dr. Schulenberg. What they're talking about there is they're talking about the same person, Kirk, the clone, because he goes from one person to the other, but that's neither here nor there. What's important, you guys, right now is on the 18th, it's important to know that Kirk said he didn't know, what I just read when he saw him. So back to Dr. Schulenberg on the 18th, he tells us that he first heard of Prince's opiate problem again on the 18th when Kirk called him, okay? There's also a text from Kirk to Schulenberg on the 18th that at the bottom, if you go look it up, or I have it, like I said, I'll provide it for you, happy to. At the bottom on the 18th, it says, see you tomorrow, from Kirk to Dr. Schulenberg. So not only did Dr. Schulenberg contact Kirk first on the 14th to provide said medication, he, I forget what I'm saying because I say so many things. He was made of that on the 18th, and he said, see you tomorrow, which was the 19th. So keep that in your mind. Larry Graham's testimony tells us that he met with Prince, Kirk, and Marone in the small club MPG room on April 18th. He stated Prince looked thin, somewhat tired, and showed off, but did not play his new guitar. So Larry Graham told us that he saw Prince and Kirk on the 18th. Kirk can't remember where he was. Ray, he had stated that Prince asked for wine on the 18th, though it remained unopened. And so those are the things that we have on the 18th, you guys. Just a minute. The date of 419 is truly interesting, as I've talked about and mentioned before in the gematria. It's It's 419. It's 1914. It's the lyrics to Family Name, World War One, Devil Devil. So 419, also the date, I believe that in 2018 or I'm not sure when Mark Metz announced that there would be no charges. It was also 419. We're told consistently that Prince does not have nor use a cell phone. Many witnesses' testimony make this hard to believe. Ray Roberts states the ongoing joke is that Prince did not use cell phones. We're told that Prince used other people's phones and communicated through email and landlines only. Many witnesses reference the texts they got from Prince. So on the timeline, you guys, on the 19th, this is what I want to talk about because, and I'll get there, because Kim Pratt said verbatim, it was the last time that anybody ever saw Prince alive in public. Okay? Just saying 419. And as I mentioned before, the Dakota Club was the first place that the breakdown was ever heard by DJ Rashida when she played it. But anyway, back to the 19th. At 421, as I shared with you guys, this is to remind you guys that what the media sells you, think about what else they sell you. We're just scraping the surface here. 421, there's an exchange of several emails between Marone Bakir and the mysterious JR, who I talked about on the JR video, who I believe is Joel Roberts, because of all of the evidence between Ray Roberts' testimony saying that his wife helped him out there, but she didn't help lately because the workload was so light. However, with all those parties at Paisley Park, I don't know how that could be a light workload. And so, yeah, JR. Watch the video. I give all the details. So anyway, during those emails, you guys, they chat about being grounded, and also he wants me to perform at the BET Awards with Queen Latifah or Mother's Day special or something like that. So one of them, either JR or Marone, was saying he wants me to perform at the such and such with Queen Latifah. So that would allegedly sound like somebody was performing as somebody else. That was my thought. That's what I'm getting at. Now, at 5:51 on the 19th, Prince sends an email to Natalia Phillips. That would be the model actress from Oh My God Media, who 70% of the calls from Paisley Park between 3:23, the Christ Remembrance at the K Hall, and 4:19 or 4:21, whatever it was, are from Paisley Park to Natalia Phillips. So at 5:51, Prince sends an email to Natalia Phillips saying, "Sorry, I fell asleep. It had been a long day. Talk later." Now, also remember that on the 19th, you guys, well, Kim Pratt, we'll get there in a second. So there's an email at 4:21. They're back and forth, 5:51. And then at 9:31, this is the second time frame in the day where during the last text, Marone says, "Can we get groceries?" And I talked about, again, on JR video for all the details, you guys. What's important to know, you guys, is that this is the 19th we're talking about. Kim Pratt said that she picked up Prince on the 19th, and I'll tell you what she said in a minute. But what I'm getting at is he can't be in all these places at once, or if he was, you can assume he was using a laptop or a cell phone if he was in the car and making all these emails at the same time, but hang tight. At 9:31, that's when she asked for groceries. I said, I believe due to the evidence that these conversations took place on an email, perhaps on the in-house system Jabber, which I explained to you guys on the telecommunications video. The numbers used in the web to text, the CenturyTel Quest link, those numbers, I'll just cut to the chase. I don't think I have it in this file. When Officer so-and-so at the DEA went to go get the two numbers from QuestLink CenturyTel, which I believe is what Marone was communicating on, that or Jabber. I'm not sure. You can tell from the text shots that they're different. But anyway, my point is that he was told that those lines were ported to Integra Telecom. Now, Integra Telecom is then also known as Electric Wave something, or vice versa. They're all LLCs is what I'm getting at. So before the DEA or other people could pull records, they took these two numbers And there's more to it. I get into it on the telecommunications. Ann Tollefson provided documentation to one of the officers who was seeking information on a different file, but she incidentally provided him with the number for the CenturyTel Integra links because those numbers were ported conveniently out of Paisley Park while all this was going on. If you don't know what ported means, go take your cell phone to another cell phone carrier. They'll port your number for you. Just saying. Okay, so also, you guys, on the 19th, ICR number 16000, that's the DEA one, the big long one. At 10:56, Prince sends this email. He provides an email to Ray Roberts asking for him to switch to the new probiotic water that assists in providing relief from adrenal fatigue. Now, you guys, Kim Pratt tells us on 4/19 she drove Prince to the Dakota Club where he was looking at a new artist. And then she drove him to the Dakota Beach Club where he had dinner with Josh Hanna and the family. And then she drove him to the Edina Theater, and he invited her in because he was renting out the whole thing for their entertainment. She dropped him off at 2 a.m. in the morning and then dropped Marone off at Country Inn Suites where she was living. Interesting, because Marone doesn't tell us that. But I'm just saying, it was room 127. And when they went there to go find the video, of course, they said there was no video. And then so the cop went to what was then a America Bank or some kind of bank across the street. They got a little USB chip and then put it in the locker at Carver County, but nobody ever got to see it because it pointed, and they said it was too fuzzy to look at, and it was pointed at the back door. But we don't get that evidence. Doesn't know if she went home or not. Anyway, you guys, so tell me this. How was Prince emailing at 4:21, 5:51, because he fell asleep and he was emailing at 4:41, okay, saying it was a long day. And then at 9:30, he's emailing, Marone is asking for groceries. And then at 10:56, Prince is emailing while he's said to be doing all these things at the Dakota Jazz Club and so on, is what I'm getting at. So how many Princes are there and how many emails and cell phone tower dumps are they doing, and why they got to provide us with so much mixed up information? I'm trying to help. Okay, so here's what I mean about those. Texts, what they look like, but when they provide the text between Marone and JR, these are what they look like. So you can tell, or emails, pardon me, that you're on a computer because it says Prince, and then there's like CDs listed up there, and then you see their names, and then you see where she asked for groceries, and then at 9:31 p.m., Prince is emailing, but he's out for the night because Kim is driving him around. That's what I'm getting at. It's just going to keep adding up, you guys. So what's interesting about the email for the water bottle, you guys, at 10:56 is that on file number 16012559, line 62, searched the rooms together. The first room was conference room on the top floor where they were meeting the night before, where Ray Roberts said that they, Marone, Kirk, and they were meeting, talking about a plan to see who was going to be checking on Prince. Was labeled as room 1, an Aqua Hydrate pH 9 blue transparent bottle that was half full of a clear liquid that was located on the bottom shelf of the middle cabinet in the room. It's interesting that on 10:56 p.m. on the 19th, while Prince was out and about on the town, he asked for the new pH balanced water that cost, $19 a bottle or something. I don't know. But anyway, then they found the hydrate bottle on the middle shelf in the conference room where they were conferencing. Okay. Also, and then they go back, the DEA, after they find out about the fentanyl, et cetera, says based on the belief that the bottles came from the room, along with the bottle being able to transport fentanyl, we collected the bottles for testing. Now, what's really interesting about that too, you guys, is part of the testimony to make sure that we, how they're talking about two princes, or at least two. Line 43 of Ray Roberts' testimony, I asked Roberts if he noticed if Prince had any significant weight loss or gain. Roberts stated he had noticed over the last month Prince had been losing weight. Roberts stated he felt like Prince was eating less and wasn't drinking any water. So why did he ask for it? I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to put the attention away from himself. I don't know. And that's where he said that he never spoke directly to Prince, that he would try to make more eating and drinking options available to him. I asked him what his demeanor was on Wednesday, 4/20. Robert said they appeared to be worried about Prince. He couldn't hear what they talked about, but thought they were formulating a plan to see who would be checking on Prince. Formulating is an interesting choice of words, I thought. Anyway, after Kim stated that she dropped off Prince at 2 a.m., and then we have the email with the water. Here's some more, you guys. Hold on. I ain't done. This hair is bugging. On 4/20, we have an email at 3 p.m. where supposedly Prince sends an email to Kirk stating, "It feels like it went back into place. No need for him now." Now, they tell us that was on 4/20. That's their documentation, not mine. The file tries to say that text was in regard to a chiropractor coming out that evening. However, the other file told us that the chiropractor, that Dr. Schulenberg said the chiropractor came out on the 7th. This says that that's how they passed off that text, that it said Prince was emailing Kirk saying their words, "It feels like it went back into place. No need for him now." So if they had a meeting and he was able to pass off that he was the real Prince and expose himself at the Paisley Pack after dark party, and look, everybody believes it's me, and I got the passport in my Peter Pravestrong suitcase, and look, it's me. 3:41. We don't know if this is AM or PM because some of the files utilize military time and some don't. However, I believe it is AM, but I'm not sure because of the way they slice and dice the file. That's the text that follows and says where Kirk says, we have a doctor providing all care in-house. Yeah, that's what they said. And then at 4:16, seriously, watch this. At 4:16, Kirk is texting Prince saying, "Call me when you get this." And that was the last one that went out and it went unanswered. Okay. This is unusual, you guys, because when Marone said that she saw Prince from a distance 3 times when she was being interviewed, she said that she showed up on the 20th to go to the doctor's appointment with Prince, was told she wasn't needed, that Kirk was going. She said 3 times that she only saw Prince from a distance. I find that very telling. But the fact that she said she arrived at 4 and then Kirk was texting Prince at 4:16 saying, "Call me when you get this." And then supposedly they arrived at the doctor at 5 and that text went unanswered. That's what I'm saying. It's just a bunch of jive. That's what I'm getting at. Now, Dr. Schulenberg, his testimony is so strange. I'll get to it in just a second. But he testified that it was supposed to happen around 7, but instead it happened at 5. And that's where they get to the CCTV video that they try to tell us is at 5:06, you guys. However, obviously now knowing that the file is sliced and diced the way that it is, please don't believe anything you see. What I'm getting at is the video that they show on CCTV. Look real close at who you're looking at. Now, also, I showed you the 6/66/1999 that's on the video thing. But what I'm getting at is that evidence, if it were evidence, could be from the 7th when they showed up, transported, or Kirk brought Prince to his clinic and they entered through the back. That's the only time we ever hear about video evidence. They don't talk about any, because see that video evidence that they talk about, well, I haven't talked about it yet, but the CCTV, it could be the 7th is what I'm getting at and not the 20th because they slice and dice the whole dang thing. Okay. So anyway. They have that at 5:06 is what I'm getting at. Schulenberg is left seen, he's leaving the building and letting them both in, which means he arrived first, you know what I mean? And they weren't open for patient care, so that would be interesting. You guys, as it goes through the file, at 5:40 p.m., the officers tell us that Kirk is seen at Walgreens, and I did this in the Kirk video. And then returning alone at 6:10 p.m. So he goes to the doctor 5:06. He leaves about 5:40 and returns at 6:10, according to their stuff. During that, Dr. Schulenberg tells us that he left to go pick up the clonidine that he prescribed, along with the hydroxine and something else I can't remember. So anyway, then at 7:04, then there's that famous video that TMZ plastered everywhere, where there's what I believe is a holographic or a lookalike Prince pacing outside. Whoever, it could be anybody. You guys put on black clothes. It could be anybody. Just saying. Now, so then you have the doctor's appointment. You have Kirk leaving. During the doctor's appointment, you have the testimony of Dr. Schulenberg that they gave. Dr. Schulenberg says that he gave clonidine, hydroxine, infused in the office, or excuse me, he says those were in pill form, actually, because the detective actually asks, were those in pill form? And he said, yes, he took the one dose and this dose, and then Kirk left to go get the clonidine, and then he came back. Okay. And then they supposedly skipped off together. Okay. 7:45 is when Ray Roberts was waiting to drop off some food. That's what he said, that Marone had asked him to pre-prepare and drop off. It's feasible that he was dropping off groceries in response to the 19th or 20th, with his wife, Jewel. Because, I don't know if it takes that many days to get groceries or not, but just put some pieces together. Hold on. This is interesting too, because this officer is talking about the emails where it said, from the information I did from Google, the last email messages, blah, 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 were done thanks, the 4:20, where Prince sends an email to Kirk Johnson telling him it feels like it went back in place, no need for him now. During the early morning hours of 4:21 at 3:41 hours, Kirk Johnson sends Prince an email which states, we have doctor working on all the care needed in-house. There was no further reply from blanked out, the last being at 8:03 on 4:20. Blah, 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 blah. While reviewing the email account, I observed several emails regarding his concerns for his health, such as 4:19 at 22:56. That's the email I was referring to over here, but it says his assistant, Marone Becure, it says, this is how it reads. His assistant, Marone Becure, an email asking that Ray Roberts' chef stop using canola oil based on an article that canola oil contributes to adrenal fatigue. Prince also wants to start using a different brand of bottled water with probiotics. That's just an odd thing to put in a... They said that Prince emailed at 10:56 asking that Ray Roberts use the new water. And then over here on this file, they say that Marone asked that Ray Roberts, Prince chef, stop using the canola oil because of the adrenal fatigue. Prince also wants to start using. It's just really, you guys, the reason I mention it may or may not make sense to some of you guys. It's because I believe they're all serving dual purposes. Renville Wellington, Kim Pratt, Marone. When Dr. Schulenberg says he left comfortable in the presence of Marone, it's the skin suits, it's the switching. It's just, it is what it is. They do weird stuff, and that's all I can say about it. What I want to say too is here, the all care needed in-house, hold on. 70% of the calls, we went over that. 1 second, you guys. I wanted to share with you guys too. Hold on 1 second. I kind of lost my train of thought here it is. There's one aspect in the file where they try to talk about the fentanyl was taken in pill form, that he didn't know the Vicodin that he was taking was laced with fentanyl. And I told you guys about this on the videos. Nobody in town was dying from them, the statistics, all the stuff. I'm not going to get into it. But the whole investigation I wrote appears to be based on the fact that a suitcase with the name Peter Bravestrong, which was the code name that he used. Sorry, you guys. Train of thought. Back to the timeline. 11/3/2016, you guys, I lost my paperwork, so forgive me. I told you this before, but I'm staying in order. Hennepin County did the largest fentanyl heroin drug bust in the country. 18 people, fentanyl deaths from January to September in 2016. DEA Detective Voller reported that there were none. However, these other statistics state that there was 18 fentanyl deaths from January to September in 2016, and that they did that drug bust in the house in Bloomington, Minnesota, which is where Sean Powell's address was. And I shared that with you guys before, but I'm just doing it again because it goes in order. That was on 11/3/2016. Look it up. On 6/9/17, you guys, the deputies were called to Powell's former address as the new buyer had found 4 prescriptions in Sean Powell's name, though none of those were narcotic. We talked about those. According to the follow-up file, 875 CW Paul Poditsky, 7108 Wood Hill, you guys, he too lived in that, or excuse me, that's where that fentanyl article is. I put it right here. See, it's hard sometimes to keep track. I have it noted that that's where they talked about the fentanyl bust. And see, because I typed this up for you guys to read, and then I end up reading it out loud, so I get a little confused. Thank you for bearing with me. On 6/9/2017, Chanhassen deputies responded, found blah, 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 blah. I showed you guys this before, but in case you missed it, because I'm going to get very much more detailed on some more things, believe it or not. Check this out, top line, please. This is where it says on 1/9/16, learned about this drug overdose that occurred on June 18th, 2016. So I ask you again, how did you learn on January 9th about something that occurred June 18th, 2016? That was supposedly Paul Poditsky's file, the Glam Slam manager there. They call that file 875 CW. And you would ask yourself, why is that file attached to this file at all? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, you guys. And one of them I'll show you is right here. Pardon. When you're going through the paperwork, the 214 pages that are available online, one thing you're going to see is this is the very first page on there. I believe it's where their Keep Forever file, ICR number at the top, stuff like that. You see these dates, 10/17. They spell out 1777 in gematria, as well as the 18, which is 666, as we've talked about. Just saying. That was a little off, but what you'll find is you see the date right here, little show and tell, 1/18/18. Sandy Meyer is telling us that she provided 875 CW follow-up to Mark Metz. Now, when you're looking through the file, the Glam Slam, the Paul Poditsky file, is the 875 CW file. That's what they say about it. But the cover sheet that she faxed on the 18th, January 18th, 2018, right here, Sandy Meyer to Mark Metz, you see that the file number has changed, okay, to the 2016. And also notice this. It says Prince Nelson Death Investigation. Okay, Prince Nelson, not Prince Rogers Nelson, just saying. Now, she says, please find the attached follow-up report from investigator Chris Wagner in connection with the Prince death investigation. In connection with. In October 2016, you guys, October 2016, the cover sheet says, in October 2016, I supplied you with cover page, initial incident report, follow-up reports, and investigative reports our office has on this case. The case that she was sending, hold on, how do I say this? When you look at the incident report file from Carver County that goes from June 2011 through 4/21, one of the things that you'll see is the ICR number at the top of the page is the 2016, the reference number that starts with 2016. So when she is sending this cover page with the 2016 on it, sending the information for the follow-up file on CW, Paul Poditsky, and finding out on January 9th about something that happened on 6/18. I can't get my stuff out of order. With the wrong dates, you guys. And more than that, this other page right behind that says this email is to confirm, blah, blah, blah. And again, it says Prince Nelson death investigations, plural, right here, plural investigations. Okay. So the media, the People magazines, the things that they tell you, are not the things that I'm telling you, I know. But you guys, it's so much more than that. It's like, even with all this evidence that I'm sharing with you, again, I always tell you when you come here, you're going to get videos of two varieties. Yes, they did spell his name with a D at one point. It's purposely done. It's because they're splicing and dicing all the files. I mean, it's, you guys, like I said, in my life after life, the plan was disclosed to me. I can't remember it all the way, all the time, all at once. That's why I beg of you to watch all the videos, so that you can understand the full story, that I'm not just coming here to be the one that's right disclosing this stuff, because I know everybody wants to know the truth. I mean, they just do. And when you consider the fact of what the media sells and what all this stuff is, the difference between it, sorry, let me get my thoughts together. It's difficult. I get nervous. It's easy to come here and talk about the investigation because it's easy to prove people a liar when they're lying. What it's a little bit harder to do is to make people understand that everything else that I say is the absolute truth too, and that I met the one the world knows as Prince Rogers Nelson when I died, or actually tells me that I died in this earthly way, but when I was there with my body, or something. I don't know. It was a weird life after life situation. And like I said, if you watch all the videos, you'll understand. But it's just hard to convince people that I wouldn't come here and lie. I wouldn't come here and say crazy stuff about him being our creator. And lately, it's really been weighing on me that I'm not doing you guys any service by being shy about it. One of the things that I recall is that it's I don't know how to say it. Forgive me. You know, when people cry wolf, for instance, a little boy that cried wolf, you know, they have, oh, you know, I need help. I need help. I need help. It's kind of the reverse of that. The creator has tried for so long in so many ways to like show us who he was. And for other reasons and with decrees that go on in the heavenly realms, wasn't able to do that and all the way. I don't really know why. But what's really important, you guys, is that when he told me it was him, and I told him he had to tell people, or that I was going to tell people, or that he wanted me to tell people, once he exposes himself, and he will, this is just the first part of it. I'm his messenger, just is what it is. Once he exposes himself as such, you're going to be limited in the ways in which you can come close to your creator, because that's what I mean by the boy that cried wolf in reverse. So many people out in the world claim to want a relationship and want to know their soul purpose and want to know their creator and all those things, but then they just keep on doing the same thing. And I tell you guys all the time that everything that you do and everything that you say is seen, heard, watched, written down, and I mean absolutely every little thing. And that means every little thing that I'm doing too. And I'm cool with that. but I would be remiss if I didn't always come back to the fact that once he exposes himself through this plan and through other means with the final redemption and just in the way that things are going to go, you're not going to be able to come as close to him, because it will be like, well, you didn't want to when my messenger was there telling you all about me and proving it to you. What I mean to say is your soul will be able to rise and ascend in a certain way for all the good things that you've done and all the ways in which you try to find your creator and your soul purpose and treat people nicely and do unto others and all those things. But you can't go back and fix stuff. That means that when he exposes himself, that, I mean, you be able to enjoy. I heard my Rabbi talking. It's like when you take your kid to play at the lake, and the little ones, they sit in the front part of the lake right there and play in the little waves. But if you want to play in the big waves, go out and play and get all the fun. It's going to depend on what you do, how close you get to be to your creator. But my point is, you have to start doing that soul cleaning and praying, and talk to him, you guys. Ask him to expose himself to you. This is it. This is it, dude. We are, like, I'm pretty sure he told me, I giggle because I never want to lie, but I'm pretty sure he told me that, oh man, I don't know. Something about, you guys, when our souls reincarnate, they can either be men or women or something like that. And that's why all these skin suits that we have running around at Paisley Park, and, I'm not sure they have, because the creator was perfect, is perfect, both male and female aspect. I think that these players, if you will, have to embrace both sides of themselves. And I've seen some really strange things in the media. The day will come that everything is the way that it's supposed to be. But what I mean to say is, you guys got to talk to him. How did I get here, you guys? How did I get to my creator? It wasn't just like through Prince Rogers Nelson. I mean, I just didn't know my whole life that was the connection. I didn't find that out until 2010 when I died. But there's so much more to it, you guys. And I want you to connect. And I always feel like if I come here and I tell you about all these things in the investigation, that it will make you listen. One of the other things that I always say, you guys, is we talk about the pi. Pi in gematria is 319. That's why the song. But in upside down gematria also, it's 316. And it's the trickery, the lie, the KKK. It's I've explained it. You have to watch all the other videos, but the lie is to make the world think that they're safe on the opposite of the 319. Do you get what I'm saying? That's Old Man Johnson's farm. And I'm going to say again, I know it's a lot to take in, but what I told the creator when I said that, well, if all these people are been taught this thing in the world, especially the United States or whatever, pretty much the whole world, and it's a lie, that, well, I said they would be able to embrace this truth very easily because they're already trying to worship something. That means that they have the heart and the vessel and the capacity to do it. So let's just tell them the truth. And one of the things that he was telling me was that, I always say it's like the song, a couple songs, been down one time, been down two times, never going back again. It's the third temple stuff, you guys. We are like the generation that was like, the way I remember it, the same peoples, the same reincarnated souls that were like at Mount Sinai and stuff. And we have been worshiping this golden calf, this whole America, this whole selfie me generation, this whole wild thing that the creator and I talked about when I was there. And he said that he created all those things to bring us closer to him. But I said, but that's not how it went down. That it distracted people, and like, we had these conversations, you guys. You're going to believe me now or you'll believe me someday. I don't care. I do care. It sounds just as trippy to me, but it's the truth. So it doesn't matter. It's the best thing. Hashem, our creator, he wants to expose himself to each and every one of us, you guys. He just does. But the world's been taught that you can just say these magic words and be good, just be good. And you can go and do all kinds of dirt and all kinds of awful things. And, you'll just be forgiven at the end of time. And there's this Jesus standing with arms out to embrace you. You are responsible for each and everything you do. And do you think that the creator wants to be all hugged up on some nasty lion DNA? He doesn't. Nobody does. Why would they? There's unconditional love, and then there is what's in our world. And the only love there is the love that we make, you guys, you and I, society. not physical love, love to one another. Okay. Love to one another. That's why the charity was called Love for One Another. I don't know. You guys will get it one day. I want to say this and then I'm going to go. Because it's even my own family. I get it, you guys. I do. I get that my own family thinks that I have spent my life chasing after Prince Rogers Nelson music, sex object, this, that, the other, whatever. And then when I died, oh, that's just what mom saw. No, that's not just what mom saw. It's not, you guys. He is the creator, Hashem. That's what we call him for now, the holy name. Okay? It just, to each and every one of you out there seeing this video and watching, I'm telling you the truth. You have a creator. He's divine. Everything in your life has a purpose. My 39 years were spent doing this because this is my purpose, and that's what he told me. I'm not choosing to do this because, it's just, I want to be the greatest at all things Prince Rogers Nelson. He told me, and I'm doing this. And nothing brings me greater joy. Absolutely nothing. Nothing ever could. And I think that's probably it for now. I have so much more to say, but I'll be back to say it. Thank you guys for listening. Send me messages, ask your questions, let me know what you want to know, because every question has an answer. And I appreciate you and I love you. Bless you. Until next time.